clap.
Oh, that'd be nice. How long had you been working on this album before you went into the studio to record it?
First song from the album that was written, I think, was track number 4, Lucille. I wrote that song in like 8th grade, 7 or 8 years ago. And then I think I wrote it in Aspen Stars, the first half of Aspen Stars, around that time. And then, yeah, then all the other songs were within, I think, the last like 2 or 3 years.
So when you decided you were going to record this album, where did you go to record it?
I recorded the instrumentation at a place in Nashville called Watershed Studios. We work with a producer friend of mine, or my grandfather's originally, and now a friend of mine. His name's Charlie Kelly, and he lived in Nashville a long time, worked on tons of albums. So it was kind of got a leaf on my shoe. It was kind of our first rodeo, working in a big real deal studio. But he picked out the studio called Watershed and got us connected with an engineer and the owner of that studio. So we did that that was January 3rd and 4th of 2018. And then I worked with John Moose Miller at the Moose's Lodge Studios. I don't know his. I think he just goes with Infinite Imagination Studios. I think that's what he calls it. And then worked with him throughout the spring 2018 semester, just recording there when we found time.
Does Charlie Kelly and the Watershed have any outstanding credits as far as recording history goes?
Watershed, I think Dolly Parton has recorded there, and a couple other pretty big country names. And then Charlie is a 4-time Grammy nominee for producing polka albums. Yeah.
Who played on the album with you?
I'll start with my roommate, Daniel Sawyer, my brother. He played drums on the album. We've been playing together for, I guess since we first started playing music, since 10, 12 years maybe. So he played drums on it. He's a very talented musician. And then my friend Sam Thomas played keys on it. And then another friend of mine from chat, Will Markham, played bass. That was the first time Will had played on a Drumming Bird project, but he was in an old band of mine with some friends. He's just an incredibly talented bassist, so I wanted him to be on the project. There's more. So they were the only ones at the studio, but then when we were recording with Moose, we got some horn tracks added. So good buddy Daniel Nunnally played some trombone on the album, and then another friend of mine, Andrew Sparks, played trumpet. And then there were backing vocals from Chloe Kimes and Allie Burgess. Also Dusty did some backing vocals on one song, just a couple lines, but he was just sitting around the house, so we put him to work.
What are the parallels between your real life and the stories you tell on the album?
I think I'm definitely a pretty personal songwriter. I like to start my songs from a personal place. Every song on the album has some element of personal experience, whether that's just commenting on a situation from my personal experience or something I was definitely very involved in. Yeah, some songs more than others, definitely there are parallels you can draw.
A little bit of a legendary moment in which you recorded the album at Watershed in 16 hours. What was that like?
It was a lot of hard work. We had to really grind it out, and unfortunately there were some tracks that we had to, like, I don't know, the recordings didn't sound great in the Watershed just because we didn't really have time to thoroughly listen through and redo those. So a couple of the tracks we had to redo with Moose. But yeah, I mean it was fun. It's kind of a game and challenge. Charlie was coaching us along the way, so he made it possible. But yeah, we recorded pretty much instrumentation for 9 tracks there with the one exception of Summer Trance was all recorded at Moose's place.
Did you all rehearse a bunch before going into this, or did you just go in with a vague idea of what you were going to play?
We did 2 full band rehearsals before we recorded. Everyone in the band had scratch tracks, so they're familiar with the songs and were able to work up parts. And then Daniel and I had, over Christmas break, since we were both at home, had just practiced. We would run through the album a couple times a week. But yeah, 2 times with the full group before we headed up there and tracked it for real.
The song, to me, seemed like it was about balancing actual work for money and the potential of doing art as income. How do you find yourself balancing that in your actual life?
Kind of hit the nail on the head about it. I wrote it in high school when I was working in a retirement home dish room, so not a glamorous job at all. Fortunately, I wasn't in a position where I was depending on that job for my livelihood or anything. That was just a high school job to make some money on the side. But I kind of went into the song with the perspective of someone that is having to work some kind of shitty job to get by with the dream, just kind of put on the back burner as a result of that, or as kind of accepting it or being okay with it in order to provide for those that you love. Back to your question, I didn't really answer it with that. That was just kind of the backstory of the song. I guess I did mention a little bit, I don't really have to work to provide for my livelihood at the moment. I was fortunate enough to be in school and get enough scholarships where I can cover just paying to live and everything. Yeah, I'm lucky enough I get to play music without having to sacrifice, at least at the moment. When I go get my big boy job, I'm sure it'll be different. But
all I want for you is a better life. So, Austin Sawyer, what is your dream life with music?
I don't know, just enjoying what I'm doing, being able to play music I write and play music I love, and play music with people I love. That sounds like an amazing life.
And this song also has interesting instrumentation. Do you come up with the instrumentation, or do you just come up with the lyrics and the band kind of plays around that?
What interesting instrumentation are you referring to?
What particularly stood out to me was the guitar.
Well, yes, I did choose to play the guitar on this track. I don't know, I guess we just went into it recording kind of the same thing. I was on guitar and vocals, Daniel's on drums, Will was on bass, so that was kind of set in stone throughout. But Sam he played keys and organ on this song, so I think the organ's a big highlight of this song and adds a lot to it. So I think he recorded organ first and then added keys on top of it, so it's makes it really full, makes it really kind of a grooving song.
And the second quote I pulled was, "Play my music for $1 on the side." Do you have any outstanding busking stories?
Not really. I've only busked maybe 2 or 3 times, and just around downtown Chattanooga, and it's just more so for fun than trying to make money. Just playing music so people would listen. But fortunately, no crazy busking stories there.
Did you come up with the keys part for this, or was that Sam? Because it's pretty pronounced in the beginning.
Yeah, I gotta give all the credits on that one to Sam. When we went into the studio to record it, the intro was originally just going to be electric guitar, and then Charlie had the suggestion we change it to keys, and Sam just kind of, it's the same chord progression throughout the song, so it wasn't like pulling the chord progression off thin air, but those kind of little accents he does and little little runs he does on the keys. Yeah, that was all him, and it's I think that's like the first or second take of that, so it was pretty insane.
What inspired this song from your real life?
Yeah, I guess this was mildly inspired by relationships of the past, but this is more so kind of wanted to be a universal, kind of ubiquitous song of just kind of like reflecting and thinking about like a love that you kind of regard as unattainable, and that I guess you're striving for just through growth and reflection.
And you have Allie Burgess with backing vocals on this. At what point did you decide this needed that little extra push of backing vocals?
I think I texted Allie when we were in the studio recording it at Watershed. Either while we were in the studio or like the day after, because I played this song at the Put Me in the Ground release show back in fall 2017, and we were hanging out at Allie's place the next night or somewhere that I think we went there after the show or something just to hang out, but she was just like talking to me about how much she liked that song, and then she had and Allie and I played together at some fraternity fundraiser event at the at the campus rec center. Just a fantastic show. And then we played it again there, and she'd always been complimentary of that song. And when we recorded it, and I was like, yeah, I feel like this could use some additional vocals. Allie has that kind of soft, tender voice, and I thought that would pair well, but can also belt, which she exemplifies there at the end of the song.
So what went into developing the guitar solo for this one?
It's a good question. The first little part is just kind of some pentatonic stuff, and then some phrasing from the chords that are being played, and then it goes to kind of little ascending part, and then it goes to the melody, and then it goes to the harmonized melody. Had the solo, and then I had a looper pedal I was playing with, so I'd loop that solo over the chords, and then I was like trying to figure out what harmonies would be cool to play over the melody. So thus that solo was born.
I would say this is one of the more rock-centric songs on the album. So what influences came from the rock side?
I think this song sounds... do you ever listen to the band The Weeks? Kind of... I had a guy tell me it sounded like a grunge song to him. He said it was a grungy song, which I can hear a little bit. It's not like super 90s rock, I guess, but there's definitely some... just the heavy chords and loudness of the song. Dawes' influence as well. They're not super loud, but I felt like the album didn't have a ton of kind of fast-paced songs that hit hard right off the bat, so I wrote White Buffalo to fill that void, I guess.
So how do you go about choosing which songs will become singles?
It's kind of a gut thing, I guess, and also I did ask several people for feedback, and a lot of them are pointing to White Buffalo. It just kind of fits in the single mold, kind of catchy chorus, verse chorus song structure, solo, then another chorus, and it's I think it's only like 3.5 minutes, so it definitely fits into the single mold better than some other tracks on the album. And yeah, I just wanted to come out swinging with it.
How many singles are you going to drop before you release the album?
Either one more or no more.
Did you plan out in advance what particular sounds off the album you were going to pick for singles?
Yeah, I kind of knew in my head what I was thinking about. White Buffalo and Holy Love were two good singles because they're kind of demonstrate like two different sounds on the album, one being the loud rock one being the more tender emotional tracks, but that build and turn into loud rock tracks. So
said you wrote Lucille when you were in 8th grade.
Yes.
It's a very moody song. Was that done intentionally, or was that just the 8th grade showing?
Probably a little bit of both. I was listening to a lot of Luna at the time. Maybe I wrote it in 9th grade. It was in 8th or 9th grade. But yeah, I was listening to a lot of Luna at the time, and that's just where the and Galaxy 500. I think it's more Galaxy 500 influence than Luna. But yeah, that's just kind of where the spaced out reverb influence came from. Just listening to a lot of that, and then yeah, just the lyrics are kind of just random vignettes. Not a super interconnected story, but I think that's works well for the song.
If you had written this song as you age, let's say like last month or something, would you have written it any differently, or would you have kept it the same kind of vignette style?
Probably wouldn't have written it any differently. I say that because, I think it's still a good song, and I wouldn't have included it on the album. Like, there were probably like 70 songs when I got time to record the album. So it's not like I chose it from lack of songs. Stood out from the other songs I was writing at that time because they were not very good. But I always liked Lucille and thought it was a cool song.
So when you're writing a song, since this was from 8th grade, and I'd imagine you had just started writing songs, probably from poetry or something of that sort, where do you start when you're writing a song?
It varies from song to song, but I think going back far in the memory bank, but I think Lucille started as just the chord progression. Just wanted to write a song with those chords that were just spacey and verbed out, and then once I had that figured out, then I threw some lyrics together.
Do you try and craft a mood through your songs?
I don't like intentionally go into a song knowing like it's going to be this mood or whatever, but yes, I like to, when I have a finished product, I like to have an idea in your head of like what I want the listener to feel when listening to this song, I guess.
Would you consider yourself more of a rock artist or a folk artist?
Both. Folk rock is the best genre of music in the world. I definitely draw influences from both, and I think this album is definitely a testament to that, with Great Smoky Love and maybe Summer Trance probably being the two most folk influenced songs.
You and Chloe Kimes pair so well. Do you go into a song writing for Chloe as the backup, or does it just kind of happen naturally?
This song predated Sawyer and Kimes, so I wrote it in September 2017. Yeah. Chloe and I had just kind of started playing together at that point, or we were rehearsing for the Put Me in the Ground release show, and that was the first time I really got to sing and play with Chloe. And then so I wrote this song and really felt it would be stronger with a female vocal, and the folk style definitely lent itself towards Chloe. Throughout that fall 2017 semester, we played this song, but I wanted it to be a Drumming Bird song, just one because I wanted to record it and have that opportunity coming up.
This song is very picturesque with the lyricism. How much thought do you put into the scene that you're portraying in a song?
This song was just an important song for me for various reasons. I wanted every single word and phrase of this song to be important and carry some weight. The stars verse, I know that's stars in songwriting. It's sort of a cliched, worn out thing to do, but I feel like I phrased it in a way that brought some new life to looking at the stars and feeling lost and kind of finding your own meaning from just kind of staring off into space.
When you write a song like this, going in with the idea of like every verse is going to mean something, Does the meaning change from when you were writing it to after you've recorded it?
It can. I don't think it did on this song, but that's definitely happened.
This song is interesting to me because it almost has movements. How did you go in writing this song with the instrumentation?
So I wrote what I like to call part 1 and 2. That was just the original Aspen Stars. I wrote that like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And then I revisited the song and felt like I could add a lot more to it with that third part. I wrote that, and then back to the instrumentation. Once again, Sam just kind of lost his mind, for lack of a better word, on the keys part. It's really awesome on this song. Probably one of my favorites on the album. That part added so much, just that kind of weird, kind of uneasy sounding keys feeling in the third part. Yeah, I feel like the third part was a really cool addition. I originally had planned on those being like 2 separate songs, like Aspen Stars Part 1 being the first and second movement, and then Part 2 being that longer third movement. I thought it was just cool to have a 7-minute song on the album. It's just a flex of sorts.
This song, during, I guess, the second part, it has very high levels of rock influence, and the solo almost sounds like it would come from a Pavement song. Was there any conscious idea of that and trying to go punk rock for that second movement?
Definitely wanted it to contrast heavily with that first part. We've opened with that song like the past couple times we've played out, and it's just kind of one of those things where everyone's just kind of like casually listening to that first little part, and then when you come with the full band, it kind of turns the head a little bit.
That's interesting. Why is the live track list different than the album track list?
I guess for various reasons. I think it can be a little off-putting to start an album with a 7-minute song. If you put on an album on Spotify and the first track is 7 minutes, you're like, all right, I don't want to do this. But I feel like having it as the 6th song on the track, I feel like if someone's invested that much time going through the album, they won't mind a 7-minute song. But the live game's different. I feel like you gotta get people involved early on, and also that song has some pretty serious effect pedal usage. It's just easier to play that first to get that all set up, rather than having to set that up in between songs.
Has there ever been a moment where you're playing the song live and the pedals mess up?
Knock on wood, no. So we're hoping to keep it that way, yeah.
Why Aspen, of all the cities with mountains and stars in the world?
I started writing the song in Aspen. We were, I think I wrote it in 10th grade, and we were taking a family trip. We flew out to California and then drove back. Stopped in Aspen, and I thought it was a really cool city.
Will this change the way you feel about Aspen if you were to go back?
No. Only make me love it more.
On the weekends you would call from a payphone on the wall.
Summer Trance. This song is very minimalistic in comparison to other songs on the album. What inspired that decision?
That decision was inspired by how important I felt the words were in becoming invested in the song. The song is actually over 500 words. I typed out the lyrics one time and did a word count, and that was insane. So to really get you invested in those, in what's being said or sung rather, I didn't want there to be too much going on to distract from that.
This song seems almost too personal to be made up. How much of this comes from a real life summer camp event, and how much of it was just made up?
Yeah, the song was like entirely made up from other than
shit.
just yeah. No, I worked at a summer camp 2 years, and it's just kind of from observations of just people, because you're just with these same people all the time, every waking hour for, an entire 2 or 3 months. And it's just a weird situation because people, I guess, kind of fall for each other pretty hard and pretty fast. And then it's kind of the summer's over, what are we going to do now scenario. So I witnessed that from kind of an outsider, never had a camp relationship, but it was, there are no songs about it, so I thought it'd be something cool to write about.
Sure, 500 words is one thing, but that slide guitar. Did you develop that, or did someone invent that slide progression?
That was me. Yeah, that was my doing. I thought it sounded like a creaky, kind of old camp environment, whatever.
Did you get that in one take, or did you have to go back over and over again and just get the timing of the slide just right?
I think we did each slide take individually rather than copying and pasting them, which adds some character to each take, which is kind of cool. But yeah, there are a couple times there was some fret buzz or whatever. I'm still a bit of a novice with the slide.
When you're playing this live, do you do the slide and then also the picking?
I've only ever played the song live once, I think, but I did not do the slide. But if I were to play it live and had another guitarist at my disposal, you bet your ass the slide part would be in there.
When you were writing this song, since it is such a dense song, did you go in writing it in lines, or did you just write out a story and then break it apart later?
Yeah, it was line by line. It took I think I wrote this song in like 2 days, which is kind of insane for me, just because I usually take longer than that, and especially a song this dense and with this just like a weird rhyme scheme. It's like A B C C B D D B and then E F. Because there's an internal rhyme in every line, and the first 3 lines rhyme at the end, and the second 2 lines rhyme, or the last 2 lines, sorry. That was confusing, but there's some crazy rhyming going on in this song.
So with Aspen Stars, you had 3 movements, but you still kept it one song. What inspired you to make this 2 separate songs but record it together?
It's a less cohesive story than Aspen Stars. Both songs kind of can easily stand on their own. Is also just from a logistical perspective, just save time to just go straight through and end up with 2 songs rather than having to stop in between them. I always like it on albums when 2 songs naturally just go one from the other. I know like Blink-182's 2003 self-titled album, a lot of tracks do that, and I always thought that's really cool.
Would you consider that an influence for this album?
For sure.
When the song switches to Is It Love, the mood kind of changes and it almost has a little toe-tapping rhythm to it. How much thought did you put into that?
Yeah, I definitely wanted the Separate Your Feelings as a pretty serious, kind of sadder song, and I wanted to transition into something that was, like you said, kind of toe-tapping that you can kind of move to and more hopeful and optimistic.
Which part did you write first?
I wrote Separate Your Feelings first, and then my intentions were to write a bridge to that, because felt like I was like 3/4 of the way done with that song, so I sat down to write a bridge, and then Is It Love came out of that. So I've just, rather than writing a bridge for Separate Your Feelings, I just decided to go into that song.
Sometimes it's easier to just write a song instead of a bridge.
Bridges suck, man.
The song structure on this album differs between songs. You said White Buffalo is the most standard, with like a verse, chorus, verse, solo. So what do you find to be more entertaining as a writer? To kind of adhere to the rules, or to just kind of break them a bit?
There are definitely pros and cons of both. I feel like adhering to the rules can be hard at times, and sometimes you just kind of have to like discipline yourself to try and write something that adheres to the rules, because if this album was full of 10 Aspen stars, that would just kind of be a self-indulgent, just jerk-off album. There are also times when I think if those longer songs naturally feel good, or feel like good songs, then it's acceptable. But I like writing both. I don't really, or I rarely sit down with the intention of, all right, this one's going to be a single,
So when you were making this, on the board during the sessions at Moose's house, it said featuring Daniel. So did you go in with that in mind?
Yeah, I was originally going to have Daniel sing, I guess, the verses, the dream I say. But I ended up deciding against that. Daniel is still like all over the song with harmonies and stuff. Ended up not doing that just for whatever reason.
And then, like you mentioned earlier, one of the songs had a little bit of a brass section on it. So how did you go about getting a trombone and a trumpet together and having old Moose Miller record it?
Man, that was a fun day. Chloe was also there too, so it was Daniel playing trombone, and he and Chloe doing backing vocals that day, and then Daniel playing trombone, and then my friend Andrew playing trumpet. So Daniel came in. I guess to preface this a little bit, this was a song I wrote and played with my old band. So we were just like messing around with learning the song, and then we just had a trumpet lying around in our old practice space, and guy playing guitar with us also played euphonium, which is just sort of a bigger trumpet. So he picked that up and like threw together that trumpet part. We just made like a super layered trumpet part, like there were like 3 or 4 tracks of the trumpet and the trombone, which give it that really super full brass section. But yeah, Moose was he was just working, kind of making it up as we went on that, and he did great. I mean, everything ended up sounding really good, and yeah, he did awesome. That was a fun night.
So you recorded all the trombone, trumpets, harmonizations and whatnot. All those were recorded at Moose's lodge?
Correct.
The Imaginarium of Dr. Moose.
Mr. Moose Gorium's Wonder Emporium.
Does this song go along with any graduation worries you do have, since you are graduating here in August?
Not really. I just written the song. I did write it around the time of my high school graduation. So I'd written it, and I didn't really have a name for the song. Change is a definitely super obvious theme in this song, and so I just felt like it was a cool name for the song. Also a big fan of the movie The Graduate, so I feel like it would not fit very well in that movie, given the Simon and Garfunkel track listing. But if they remade The Graduate today, I like to think it could be in it.